Tonight's event is brought to you by the University of Tampa's American Marketing Association in collaboration with the College of Business and the College of Arts and Letters. The American Marketing Association Collegiate Chapter at UT is committed to helping members grow professionally and personally through events similar to this one tonight. If you're a member of College of Business or College of Arts and Letters in any major and you want to learn more about UT, feel free to find some of our leadership team. We all have these badges on at the end of the event, and we can explain that in some more detail. Tonight, we have the honor of hosting a remarkable individual who has left an incredible mark on the world of business and finance. As a distinguished entrepreneur and investor, Jeff Vinik has incredible experience and knowledge that we all have the opportunity to hear about tonight. So for tonight's agenda, Mr. Vinik will be doing a 30-minute talk, and then afterwards we'll follow up with a 30-minute Q&A. And we ask that you please hold your questions until that time, as we'll be alternating between the questions that were submitted in advance and the questions that you guys have now. So now, all that you have been waiting for, let's hear it for Jeff Vinik.
Why did I buy the Tampa Bay Lightning? And I'm an analyst by training. I'm a money manager. I've been at Fidelity running money, mutual fund. I run hedge fund money, my own company for 15, 20 years. I mean, that's what I do. Pros and cons lists and SWOT analysis and all that kind of stuff that you learn in school that's actually valuable in real life. I did an analysis on all the teams and possible opportunities that were available. And as I said, there were a ton of opportunities available. One of the things that really struck me about Tampa Bay was this whole area I thought was really undervalued and underappreciated. Was not doing well. Really was a real estate depression here. The unemployment was 12%. People were really negative, and I just thought there was a lot of opportunity. This was a great place to live with lots of things to do in a beautiful setting and really nice people, which is part of the brand of this place. Brand is such an important word, and that, in my opinion, the welcomingness, which is not a word, but which works, that is, as much as anything, what I think is so incredible about the Tampa Bay area, how other people can move here and feel part of the community very quickly. And I know that's the case because people like me, not only in the beginning, we lost 4 games in a row, and they were still nice to me. So I know that, you can be very welcomed here. Excuse me. So looked at a bunch of teams. This was the best opportunity. And as I said, part of it was because of the growth potential here. And at that time, we had been near last place several years in a row. The building was 3/4 empty. We had 5,000 fans at a game per game. Now we've sold out, close to 300 games in a row. It's incredible, the difference. Our suites were half empty. Sponsorship was bringing in no revenue. It was terrible. And goal number one, the first thing that had to do is we had to resuscitate the brand and recreate the brand, which probably had negative value at that point in time. And I was so fortunate. Business lesson number 1, 2, and 3. It's all about the people, and if there's anything I've learned over the last 15 years, various businesses, whether it's the Lightning or the real estate I'm involved with here, or the technology hub, Bar Collective that I'm involved with, my philosophy, find really good people, find great people, pay them well, give them the resources to succeed, let them do their jobs, don't interfere, as in don't pick players, and I don't pick players, and owners that do pick players do not win, and that's the most important advice for a new owner, I always tell them. But anyway, give them the resources to succeed, don't get in the way, and then hold them accountable at the end of the day. If they don't get the job done, well then you're gonna have to reposition, rechange strategy, or maybe find somebody new. But hopefully you've picked a person that under those conditions can really excel. I was lucky with the Lightning, was able to hire Todd Leiweke as CEO, one of the best CEOs in all of sports, if not the best. Steve Yzerman as general manager, perhaps the most respected person alive in hockey. The minute we hire those two people, I could have gotten hit by a bus the next day because the conditions were set in motion for us to be successful in the years ahead. First thing is I was working with Todd and with Steve. It was who Lightning employees do we want to keep? Who shouldn't be on this ride? and bringing in other people that were really strong performers with terrific integrity, always do the right thing, hard workers, respectful people, etc. All those values critical. About 8 months after buying the team, we did 3 announcements, 3 days in a row in terms of resuscitating the brand. First, let's see if I can remember what they are. I know we did 3 things, so it was 3 press conferences. Now I've had time to think of what they are. The first thing we did was, for every season ticket member, we gave them a free jersey. Never had been done in sports. I always wanted to do something like that. It wasn't even that expensive because we had so few season ticket members, right? But in the jersey, 25% off food and beverage, 35% off merchandise, a chip in the jersey. It only worked if you wore it to the games. You wore it on the street before and after the game, so our brand is being publicized, and our best ticket holders or season ticket members are being incentivized by being able to save 25 and 35%. That was day one. And by the way, we put a new logo on. The brand was in such tough shape and so irrelevant. We had to just start from scratch. Number 2, we did a $70 million, ended up being closer to 100, private upgrade to the arena. I didn't ask for any public money at the time. The economy wouldn't permit it. It was a statement by me and the Lightning in general that we're in here for the fans, we're here for the community, and we're going to make this a great facility, both to go to events and to go to hockey games, etc. And the third thing we did was we started our Community Hero program and became active in the community. Again, the only program in all of sports. We've been doing it now for, I guess this is going to be 13 years. We've given away $30-something million, $50,000 at every game to a hero in the community, and we find amazing people to do amazing things here. Those 3 things got us on the radar of people in the community. Having said that, building a brand takes time and it takes credibility, and while those things were a good jump start, to be perfectly honest, it really took us between 3, 4, 5 years till we really became known. We were hidden till word of mouth spread. We had 1 good year, but then we had a couple years we didn't make the playoffs. Then we got to the Stanley Cup final 1 year. That went a long way toward people now being aware of what we were doing on the ice and in the community. There was a lockout for half the season in 2012. We did the Community Hero anyway. That got some press, good word of mouth. And our people at the Lightning, who I'm so thankful for, the great employees that we have. Sorry, I don't look up there as much, looking down there. The people did a tremendous job in terms of just, being A-plus performers and treating customers well. And when they're in the building, giving them excellent experiences and just all the blocking and tackling. The things to create a great brand is blocking and tackling. And I guess I should say forechecking and backchecking or something like that. Better analogy. But it is so critical to do that, every little thing to try to do as well as you can. We're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But that over time is what builds up brand strength and gets people to want to associate with you. People who love hockey and some people who don't love hockey. The sports business, this isn't my phrase, but Peter Guber, who owns, a good friend who owns the Golden State Warriors, among other teams, LA Dodgers, he says the sports business is the emotional transportation business. And what we're trying to do is it's not about us it's a little bit about us getting the money out of your wallet to pay for, to pay for our merchandise, to pay for the tickets, but it's getting your heart and getting you attached to the team and getting attached to the Lightning and the brand and the players, and everything we do is to try to develop that. And that's why we're so community-minded, everybody throughout the Lightning organization, to give back so the community knows we have your back, please will you have our backs too. We've been fortunate now, as I said, it's 13, 14 years later. On the hockey side, our guys run the best program in the NHL. I absolutely believe that. It took years till we built up our young guys, developed, we drafted, we developed them. You wait years. We got Vasilevsky. It took 5-6 years till he became a really good goalie. That's part of the process. Sometimes GMs, they pick the players, get fired after 3 years. How do you even know what job they're doing? You draft the kid at 18, Alex Killorn. He didn't start playing until he was 24. He became a really, really good Lightning player, and we lost him for salary cap reasons this offseason. It takes time, and our guys matured in the early 2010s, and by 2015, for the next 7-8 years, nobody is even close to us in terms of number of wins overall. Now, in hockey, to win the Stanley Cup, there are ups and downs involved. You need a hot goalie. You need a little bit of luck now and then. You need to come through under pressure. And we had to do a good amount of losing. You know, in sports, often you have to lose before you can win. And we had to do a good amount of losing. You know, where we had the best record in the history of hockey about 5 years ago. We got swept by Columbus in the first round, almost similar to what happened to the Bruins. That experience is, you know, what put the fire and the, again, experience is the best word, in our players that led to 2 Stanley Cups the 2 years after that, because they realize what it takes to win, to play as a team. You got to play defensive hockey. It's not about scoring goals. So we've been able to develop a very, very strong program. About 3-4 years into owning the Lightning, you know, couldn't help but notice, probably 2 years, real estate available across the street, contiguous real estate, and again, the economy was terrible, prices were down. It's like, well, we might as well buy that, and then another piece, we might as well buy that. No plans what to do with it. I just knew we were getting a good deal. This was downtown real estate, surrounded by water on all sides. Someday this is going to be valuable, whether we do something with it or not. And I kind of threw myself into that project by reading books and articles and meeting people about movement back to the urban core and experiences. And there aren't that many places to gather in Hillsborough County, actually. Now there are a lot more armature works, and we can go on and on there. But there were very few 10 years ago. It's just a major need missing in this area. And Water Street Tampa was formed a great partnership with Cascade Investment. They've been terrific partners. And we were able to develop what I assume most of you have seen around the arena. And it's been just, first of all, in terms of personally satisfying. I know nothing about commercial real estate. I knew nothing about any of this. And, you know, it's had some effect and has helped in the transformation of this region. I mean, the Tampa Bay that exists in 2023 is so different than 2010 when I got here, which was so different than 1990, 20 years before I got here. I mean, this is, from here to Orlando, is the fastest growing area in the country right now. In the last 2 years it has been, and for the next 10 to 20 years. Traffic can be bad at times, and we need to do more with mass transportation, but that's a complete another matter. But you go to Miami, it is so crowded there, you can't get anywhere. And Miami's a great place to live. I'm not knocking it. It's got its own brand. It's different than here. But we've got a huge amount of potential and growth ahead of us, which is going to be really good for quality of life here, for earnings here, for people. Everybody, the rising tide will lift all boats. And this has been too much of a value economy here, too much back office stuff. That has changed, will continue to change, and incomes are going to go up. The quality of jobs are going to go up. More young people are going to stay here rather than go other cities because there are opportunities here. More young people are going to come back to where they grew up because they love it here, again, because there are opportunities here. The technology scene is growing here. More for young and older people is what the future here is. Fantastic. Housing, I jump around. Housing is too expensive. It is really a burden. The good news is supply is coming on and prices have leveled off, but it's all about supply, supply, supply. We're going to have a building boom in this country for the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to take that long to build enough houses and apartments to get things fully back in balance, but things are getting better now than they were. Other things we're involved with, I'm just going to check my watch. I'm doing okay. Other things I'm involved with, Bar Collective. I don't know how many of you know what that is. It's our technology hub we started up about, must be like 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago. I knew I had a megaphone here. People listen to me, and it's like, well, what could I help in this community? where do we need to be better? And one was mass transportation, and I worked real hard on that, and we haven't had too much luck, but we're making some progress. And people know that we need to improve mass transportation here. It's a terrible burden not having it. And two was in terms of the technology scene, the innovation scene. I hired a great CEO, Lakshmi Shenoy, out of Chicago, started up Embark Collective. We have about 120 companies there. And we're just trying to, we provide the best coaching in all the different disciplines, finance, marketing, we are psychologists to some of these founders, et cetera. We help them in all ways we can to help them develop their companies. It's still tough to be a startup, but we now have that going on in the area, and there are the ARC and Tampa Bay Wave, there are plenty of, and Tampa, University of Tampa also has their own program, so let's not forget that in the building that I visited a while ago. It's beautiful. So we have that going on also, because really important to the future of the area. By the way, I didn't mention it, going back to the real estate. I'm 64 now, so I'm in a different stage of life. I did sell my part of the real estate company back to Cascade, which was my partner in it, which is Bill Gates' company. And it was just, again, we have a phase 2 ahead of us. I guess, I don't know if I can still say they have a phase 2 ahead of us, which is the same size as phase 1, which is about $2.5 billion of activity with 10, 12 different buildings. That's directly ahead of us. Interest rates are not helping where they're at. It is brutal trying to do construction and make any kind of a decent return with interest rates being so high. But having said that, they're gung-ho on continuing and doubling the size of Water Street, Tampa, and making it even a better district than it is now. But I did sell my ownership back to them, so I am not involved with them. I'm an advisor, and I try to help them, but I am not actively involved. And it's just, I've worked hard now the last 4 years of my life to try to say no to things, except for things like this, which is fun, because I like talking, especially to young people. And I just want to have more time for myself, frankly. I've been... I think I'm tired. I've worked really hard here for 10 or 12 years straight and just want to kind of relax and enjoy myself. And the real estate phase 2 will take 7 to 10 years. I just didn't want to commit personally 7 to 10 more years to do that. The hockey team will not be sold. I'm not going to sell it. As I've said to people, all I want to do is go to hockey games, play, and spend time with my family and run my own portfolio, and that's how I want it. That's what I enjoy out of life and what I want to do from now on. And I've been working hard to get to that point, and I've had to say no to things and get off boards and stuff to do that. Again, just a stage of life for me. So I can go on, but I won't. But let's go to questions, Megan. Let's go to magically appear. Why don't we go to questions and I'll answer them.
All right, so we're going to be alternating between some of the questions that we had in advance and between some live questions. So we're going to be having Callie down here. She's going to come over and grab a microphone. So if you all have any questions, Callie will come up to you and you guys can present it then. We just ask that you keep it a short question with no follow-up questions, so that way we can get in as many questions as we can. And there'll be someone up at the top as well, Kenny over there to your right. So thank you. Tori's going to ask the first question.
So for our first question of the evening, you were both a major mutual fund manager and a hedge fund manager. Do you believe that the Lightning acquisition was an investment, a passion, or both?
My goal with the Lightning acquisition, well, I bought it for fun. I mean, I just love the sport of hockey, even though as a Red Sox partner before then, hockey is my favorite sport. As I said, I believe that ownership and management matter in owning a sports team like it does in any other business. So my goal was mainly to have fun. Having said that, I didn't want to lose a lot of money doing it. That's not as much fun. We did lose a huge amount the first 3 or 4 years. The bad news of having 5,000 seats, people in seats, is that you're not getting a lot of revenue. The good news is we have another 14,000 seats where we could put people in, and that's more revenue that's come in. My goal at the time in the beginning, which was really pretty much my goal right now financially, is to break even or hopefully do a little bit better, to be one of the top teams in hockey competing for the Stanley Cup, and we've been able to do that many years in a row. And then thirdly, to make a difference in the community and hopefully help people's lives. So I think those are still the main goals, but there's no question One, it's fun. Two, I want to win. And we spend above the cap. There are ways to do it. Every year we spend every penny we can to put the best team on the ice to give us the best chance to win.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we'll be now going into the audience.
One other thing. There are sports owners that don't think the same way, that actually they do it as a business and they're out there to make as much money as they can and don't care to win as much, including some other hockey teams. And I don't begrudge that. That's fine. But in my opinion, owning a sports team, there's a pact between the owner, the employees, and the community. And other sports don't have, like baseball and all, they don't have caps. So you lose a ton. If let's use the Rays, who I assume got knocked out today. They're paying $70 million in payroll, and they're competing with Yankees and Red Sox at $300 million. It's awful difficult. You cannot expect the Rays to go spend $300 million and compete with them. They walk on water in terms of how great a job they've done. Hopefully a new stadium will help. Even though they don't spend that much, that's because the revenues aren't that high. But there are other teams that, there are other owners that just, they want to win, but they're running it like businesses. And, again, in other hockey teams. It's okay, but not how I work.
Before we move on to another question, does anybody in the crowd have a question? You do? Callie, do you want to go over?
So you mentioned that you knew people to build your network and get into owning a sports team. So what advice would you give to a freshman in college to start building a network, or how do you build a network?
Well, you all can probably answer that better than me. You're looking at an introvert who's terrible at building networks. That's not what I do. I run away from networks. When I was in business school, everybody used to hang out. I went to HBS. They used to hang out at the Boathouse Bar. I never was caught dead in there. I think through work, I was able to make relationships over time and network that way and meet other people. I'm not sure the premise of the question. I'm not sure networking is the key ingredient to success. It's good to know people. It's good to get your name out there. It's good to look for opportunities, certainly. When I went to business school. I worked on Wall Street for a year, didn't like it, wanted to go to the money management business. I sent 200 letters out to different money management firms and got one response from Fidelity. I don't know if you call that networking or not, or call it persistence. With my kids, I say, well, the most direct way, if you want to get here and you're here, what's the most direct way to do that? And usually, especially with LinkedIn and things like that, you can reach out. You can just be relentless, and if you have a 1% hit rate, that means you got to reach out to 100 different people. I don't know if I answered the question exactly as you were asking it, but persistence, hard work.
All right, and we have a question about the Vinik Family Foundation. So what inspired you to establish that, and can you tell us a little bit about it? Yes, had a hedge fund, started up in '96. Market peaked in 2000. We shut it down in 2000, and then went back into business in 2003 and 2004. I was fortunate enough to make a ton of money for my family up to 2000. When we went back in business, I wanted additional motivation, so I said from 2004 on, all the money we make, half will go to family, and the other half will go to the foundation for us to give away for causes that we think are good. So that's when we started the foundation and started to grow it, and fortunately it was able to do well.
We're going to now move on to questions from the audience. Do we have any questions in the audience?
Up there.
Hi, it's a bit of a long one, but so you mentioned earlier it was coming 2013 when you bought the Lightning. It was a bit of a recession. How did you convince people to spend the little remaining disposable income they have on a team? I don't know like hockey that deeply, but I'm assuming that Florida wasn't that big of a hockey state to begin with. But how did you convince them to spend the money?
Well, we didn't because we had so few people coming here.
Okay.
I think you'd have to assume at that time, given how many games we were losing and that the experience wasn't very good in the building at that time, the guest experience, I think you'd have to assume that the 5,000 fans coming to a game at that point were really avid hockey fans, and maybe 3,000 of them were fans of the other team that was coming, who had transplanted down here. But the answer is, how have we sold out, or not the answer, a different answer is now, how do we sell out 300 games in a row? How do we get people to keep coming now? And one, we try to have a good team on the ice, but again, it's all the brand building we've done. We've tried to get people to be emotionally attached to our players, to us, to the experience that they're having. It's all that we want them to think, when you think of Tampa Bay Lightning, what do you think about? And we do polls all the time and et cetera, focus groups. And if what comes up is loser or, then we're off. So people tell us how we're doing with their brand. We can grade it. All those little things though, our customer service, our people, our frontline people that work, we have almost 1,000 of them. There's nobody friendlier and better in the country in any arena than we are. And I think it's partly due to this area, but I think partly because I'm fortunate enough to have good people who work for the Lightning, who care and believe in the mission.
Thank you.
So our next question is, besides the initial setbacks that you had when you first acquired the Tampa Bay Lightning, what do you believe the biggest challenge was that you faced, and how did you face it?
Getting people to know who we are. You were going to answer the question, right? You knew the answer to the question before you asked it. Again, I was surprised I thought we were doing everything right, and I thought we were doing really good things in the Community Hero Program, and it took 5 years till people noticed. And then like that, and we got to the Stanley Cup Finals, so we had a good team, and we lost to Chicago, but that doesn't hurt either. It helps a lot. There's no doubt winning helps in sports. It makes a huge difference. But we have to, when we plan ahead, it's like, okay, I hope we win more Stanley Cups. I hope we're one of the best teams year after year. We believe we have at least 5 years of visibility of being one of the best teams and having the opportunity to win. But what if we're not? Let's say we're an average team, or let's say we're even a bad team. How do we make it sticky so fans want to keep coming, so they believe in our future beyond that? We think about those things because sports is a cyclical business. It's hard to say, and we've had, I'd say, again, 9 years of being pretty much the best. For the last 9 years, by far the most wins, probably 100 wins more than any other team. So yeah, we have to think about those things nonstop. Just blocking and tackling, as I said. There's in life and in business, there is no substitute for rolling up your sleeves and doing the work. It's hard, no matter what it is, it's hard work.
Is there any other questions in the crowd before we move on to another one? Oh, there's one back there. Get you next time.
From like a marketing and branding standpoint, you mentioned you had to do like a rebrand for the team. How big of a part did you play within that?
How big did you catch it? I kind of got it.
She was asking about rebranding. How much you did it?
So the big rebranding happened in year one, as I talked about the things that we did. I had a front row seat to it, but I had Todd Leiweke, then CEO, and Steve Griggs, current CEO. I had them running the show. They had done it with teams before. They had experience with it. Let's be honest, at that point, I had owned the team for less than a year. All I was a guy who picked stocks off a computer and made phone calls and did a lot of reading sitting in an office. I knew nothing about branding. I knew nothing. I mean, I went to business school, but I probably forgot anything that I had learned there, except hire great people and pay them the most. It's worth it. That's what I got out of business school. But yeah, I was involved, and there's common sense. But I think one of my skills is knowing what I know and knowing what I don't know. And again, I don't pick players. And invariably, new owners come in. They want to win right away. They get excited, they overpay for free agents, it doesn't work, they lose, then they have to rebuild, and 5 years later they've figured it out, and then they're starting. It's kind of a common pattern with new owners in sports. I was lucky, I had a couple people helping me out who taught me that that was not the way to go. So Julian Brisebois and our staff are tremendous. I would never, I'll give my opinion. Boy, he had a good game, and sometimes I get that right, and sometimes I get it wrong. It's hard to tell sometimes with defensemen whether they have good games or not. I can't even tell. So I let the experts do their job. And that's in general my philosophy.
Thank you.
The next question is, what advice would you give to students who are just starting their careers and aspire to achieve success in their career choice?
Well, you can all answer that. Work hard, have a plan. I have 4 kids. I have 33, 32, 30, and 22. I don't know what you hear from your parents and others, but I told all my kids when they were in college, hopefully, if you know what you want to do by the time you're 30, that's really good. Life goes on for a long time, and try a lot of different things and expose yourself to a lot of different things and a lot of different people. And obviously work hard and use common sense and be a good person, all that kind of stuff. I don't think I have anything brilliant to add.
All right, that's fine. Callie, do you want to take the question up here?
Hey, Jeff. Besides all these things that you're involved in Tampa, how do you like to spend your free time? And don't be shy about this. You're a CEO. I'm sure that you have the best life ever, or at least a lot of the students here think you do. So, how do you spend your free time?
Yeah, I'm fortunate, and there's no doubt about it. Honestly, I like to spend it quietly. I'll tell you what I did today. I got up I woke up at 4. I got up a little early, but got up at 4, did a little, I always have reading and research to do, did a little of that, went worked out, then worked on the stock market for a couple of hours, had a phone call on a private investment I'm involved with, then I had another phone call for related to a bunch of other investments I'm involved with, did a lot of reading, I was able to get through everything, put on the Rays at 3 o'clock, fell asleep for a half an hour while watching them, and was able to wake up by 5:30 and get down here in time and do this. That's a pretty good day for me. I tell you, I was just out, we just bought a place in Colorado, which got a lot of press for good or for bad, but I was out there for 2 weeks and with one of my kids, and my wife came for a while, and just did nothing for 2 weeks, went hiking every other day, rode electric bikes. It was awesome. It was so quiet. I've decided that the Rockies, Independence Pass separates the East and the West in the U.S., and it's like 20 miles from our house. Our house is right near that. I decided that all stress can't get over Independence Pass. You get on the other side of it, and everything is relaxed. So that's what I do. That's really what I want to do in my life is at my age now, just relax, read, and watch a lot of sports and go to a lot of sporting events. I'd love to. One thing I really would love to do is go. I love I love sports. I'd love to go to Wimbledon and. I went to the World Cup in South Africa. I've been to, I think, 2 World Cups. South Africa, which wasn't a great one. That was over 10 years ago. I went with my son. And it was the most fantastic experience. We went to 2 soccer games a day for a week, and it was crazy trying to get all over the place. But it was like going to 2 Super Bowls. Every game in the World Cup is a Super Bowl. and you have people from all over the world. It is the most fantastic experience. I want to go to do things like that as long as I feel like I'm safe, because you never know. I guess I answered the question. I want to be a bum.
So, obviously, your favorite sports team is going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning, but before acquiring the team, or even now, what would be your other favorite team?
Duke basketball.
Basketball?
Duke basketball, yeah. That's easy. If I had to go beyond that, I love watching the Bucks. And I'm impressed by them this year. I thought they were going to be good this year. I just think football is such a fan. I don't like going to football games. The breaks are too long. But on TV, I think pro football is such a fantastic sport. It is so exciting. I love pro football. I'm not owning a pro football team, by the way. I couldn't afford it, and I don't want to.
So the Lightning has been actively involved in community initiatives. So how do you believe that community engagement and philanthropy contribute to the overall success of sports franchises?
You know, everything we do in the community, it comes back and helps the Lightning because people think good about us and want to help us. But that's half of it. The other half is that it's a responsibility of a sports team. We're more than just a business. We're more than just a pizza shop. I'd like to think that during COVID, we lifted spirits a little bit when we won the Stanley Cup. Tom Brady comes here and wins the Super Bowl. It helped the whole region. There's no doubt that helped people like, where's Tampa in Florida? I mean, yeah, we've done stuff downtown and building and all. Tom Brady coming here was a fantastic break that we got for people to notice this area and then realize the growth that's going on. So all the stuff we do with the community, I got it from my parents. My wife got it from her parents. When you've been fortunate, you should give back and try to help others, and we try to do that the best we can. And we've made that part of the DNA of the Lightning. And by the way, the Bucks do it, and the Rays do it, and the Rays do something like every single day during the season to help some initiative. I mean, they're fantastic what they do. Most sports teams do, and we try to do as well as anybody at that.
That's great. Is there any questions in the crowd? Got one over here and one over here. Could you guys just raise your hands again? Either one. I'll get you next time.
Hi. So you said that when you were rebranding, there was a period where people weren't noticing. Did you ever feel like you wanted to give up? And if you did, how did you get through that? How did you not give up?
I have on my wall a economic model I did. This was 2012 or 13, a 5-year projection. And it's I cannot get us to break even. It is impossible to get us to break even. Well, we've been in the positive now, except for COVID, 8 years in a row. Somehow we got there, but we were losing a lot of money the first 2 or 3 years. I still had faith that we were doing all the right things to turn it around. But when I say it took 5 years, it took 5 years. And I loved owning the team. I loved the process. We were making progress and losing less and less money. But I'm human. There are doubts along the way, and it all came together. We had a really good team that helped. We did a lot of, we managed I think we're really well managed. That helps a lot too. And now we've, gotten to a successful place. Let me also touch on sports teams' valuations have gone through the roof over the last 5 or 10 years. The Lightning valuation is up 10 or 15-fold since I bought the team. And sports in general has probably tripled in the last 10 years. I think it's craziness, but it's frankly just supply and demand. It's certainly not a discounted cash flow analysis. There's no sports team whose current value equals the present value of all the cash flows discounted back. But there are only 100 and, I guess you can include MLS, 150, 160 sports franchises in the U.S., and a lot of people want to own them, and they've gone up a lot in value. I've sold 30% of the team, frankly, to take advantage of that and use it to buy places out in Colorado and, for other purposes, frankly. But I never assumed the value would go. I never thought it would. I mean, we're over $1 billion value. I never thought that was conceivable. I mean, I dreamt about getting to $500 million in value. So it's incredible what's gone on in that respect. And again, I've been very fortunate. That's luck. I mean, the industry got hot. I mean, live content's good, and what else do you have to watch live but sports? So if you had strategically, it's a pretty good area to go, but it's still been very fortunate.
Thank you.
You had your hand up like 3 times. But now it better be a good question after all that.
You had mentioned there was a secret as to why you believe the Tampa Bay Lightning is so good on ice. Could you kind of share and elaborate on that a little bit?
Because I'm the owner.
There you go.
No, it was what I said. I don't pick the players. That's what I said. And in addition to that, it's like when I hired Steve Eisman on day one, or day zero, the first thing he said, it's going to take 5 years. The best we're going to do is get somewhere in 5 years. We got to draft guys. We're going to be patient with them. We're going to develop them. We're not going to rush them. And that's been our philosophy throughout. And we treat players well. People, first of all, players like to come and play golf in Florida. We have so we have an advantage. The taxes are less here. The weather is great. The families like it. So it makes it easier for us to get free agents. So we do have those advantages, and we treat players well and have a great reputation. There was a poll done a couple of years ago, and we were the #1 place where players wanted to go in the league. I don't know if we were winning the Stanley Cups back then, so I don't know if we're #1 now, but I bet we're still in the top 5, and that helps to get a free agent when we don't have much money because of the cap to come here for 2/3 of his value or something really helps to be able to put together a team with people who are willing to take discounts. But I don't pick players again. I pick stocks. That I'm good at. I sit in front of a screen and I do my research and I pick stocks. That's what I'm good at.
Thank you.
What kind of advice would you give to a college student looking to raise money for a startup business?
You better fortitude, great idea. Come over to Embark and meet people there, or work with the University of Tampa, et cetera. Make sure there is a market for your product. It doesn't do any good to develop a product that has no market, so you're not going to go anywhere if that's the case. Product could be a service also, of course. And have fortitude. It's hard. I mean, right now especially, we're in a tough climate for startups.
So you mentioned that you went to business school. How do you believe that this has supported your career path and ultimately led you to where you are now?
As I said, hire the best people and pay them the most. You hire the best person might cost 30% more than the second best person, but they're 10 times as good. So if you can, it's not easy, obviously. You got to spot them and vet them and all. I always take, whenever I'm doing a job interview, for a CEO, a high-level position, I always take them to dinner or to lunch. I want to see how they treat the waiter. And if they're barking at the waiter, they're not the right person to work in my organization. In fact, I played golf with a guy, and he was belittling his caddy. And no, that's not going to be it. I belittle myself when I play golf.
Any other questions in the crowd? You got one.
So what have been some of your favorite accomplishments since acquiring the Lightning, whether it may be from a business or a team standpoint?
Winning the 2 fucking Stanley Cups. The boat parades were 2 of the most fun days of my life. I overdrank on both of them. Unbelievable fun. The one in the rain was incredible. I don't know if anybody was there. We had all the medals of honor recipients in the country, Military Medal of Honor. We had all 50 living, there may be 55 or 60 who are alive, and 50 were on center ice before a game. Got to meet all those. That was as special a moment as we've had. Those are the highlights of the highlights. Always the community heroes. I enjoy that every time also.
All right, so another question we have is, what legacy do you hope to leave behind in both within the sports industry and the business world?
I don't really believe in legacies. It's like I'd be too full of myself to think about leaving a legacy. He was a good guy who did things the right way. Maybe that's about as much as I need.
I like that. Any questions? Got one up there.
You can ask about the team if anybody cares.
Actually, sir, I had a question about what would be your ideal strategy in dealing with competition. Now, I'm not talking about on the ice per se, but more from a marketing and branding perspective. How would you go about dealing with competition?
Every situation is different, of course, but education, understand your competition, understand, do they have a cost advantage manufacturing? Versus you? Do they have better people? Do they, I don't know, is their product market fit better, whatever it is? And you have to look around every corner, right? Is there a Chinese company or some company from around the world going to do it 30% cheaper? I think since I don't have a good answer to the question, my answer would be hard work and understanding, learning as much as you can, pretending, having somebody call them, pretend to be a customer and learning all about their product. Just knowledge. I mean, when one makes an investment, the more knowledge you have, the better. Now, you can't get paralyzed by trying to get every last detail of information, but it's just to understand the competition.
So obviously acquiring the Tampa Bay Lightning was such an excellent experience, but if you could be doing anything else right now, what would you be doing?
I told you, I just want to go to hockey games and hike a little bit and spend time with my family, and that's what I'm doing. I don't want to own another sports team. No, I'm been working. I've had to get off between 5 and 10 boards over the last 2 or 3 years. I've gotten out of a lot of stuff that was valuable and was important to me, but this is my selfish time in my life.
We have a question over here, Callie.
Perhaps finding a thin crust pizza place here. I want to open a thin crust pizza restaurant. Does anybody know how to make really good pizza, like New York style?
Santoro.
Because I want to open one.
So the players, and obviously you have a grueling schedule. What do you do to celebrate or on an off day? Do you do anything with your team, kind of like congratulate everybody on your experiences?
Are you referring to the hockey team in particular?
Yes.
I am not good at celebrating. I am more, that's old news. If you celebrate, that's bad luck and things are going to go bad going forward. I kind of just drive ahead full speed and don't look back, and to a fault. You need to, Stanley Cups we celebrated, believe me. But in general, I tend to be pretty hard on myself and just keep accomplishing. Again, not to get too philosophical, but as one gets older, one wants to enjoy life and feel good about life without necessarily having to accomplish something every day. You'll get there. You'll understand in a few years.
We had a question about the Water Street project. So if you could talk a little bit about why you wanted to be involved with that and what the purpose was for the Water Street project.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in a raft in a river, and it's going down and it's hitting the rocks and bumping around and on a path, and the next thing you know, we just built a $2.5 billion development. How'd that happen? Yeah, it just happened over time where the real estate was available, and then I have this gene of taking too much risk and becoming overly ambitious, and then met Bill Gates and Cascade, and next thing you know, we're building 12 buildings, and we have a pandemic, and it just happened gradually over time where it was just an exciting project to be involved with. Again, I've been very fortunate in the markets my whole life, but at age 50, buying the Lightning, doing the real estate, moving to Tampa Bay, I got to reinvent myself. I'm kind of reinventing myself now. I'm consciously kind of doing that, which is a lot chiller version of myself. So it just kind of, a lot of this stuff happened, and I was just ambitious, and a bunch of us were ambitious. You know, it's very satisfying to make a difference in a city. So it's just, it's meaningful.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
So you mentioned how you love to read. What's your favorite book of all time? And then also like favorite fun thing to read? And then also favorite like educational business book?
All right, slow down, please. My favorite book of all time?
Yes.
I don't read fiction. I love to learn stuff. Oh boy. I was hiking with my son. He said, "Dad, what's your favorite tree?" Like, tree? I don't have a favorite tree. I mean, I like trees. So, favorite book. When I was a kid, I liked The Odyssey. I read so little fiction. Otherwise, I just read boring business stuff, sports stuff like that. Okay, what was the second question? I flunked the first one. What's the second question?
The second one was your favorite business or your favorite educational book?
Business book. I don't know. Sorry. I can't think of one answer off the top of my head. Was the third question?
No, it's only two.
Good.
I think there was a question behind you as well, if you want to hand the mic over.
So I know you were involved in Water Street and you're a fan of the Rays. And I know that there were talks years ago about them moving to Tampa with their new stadium. I don't know if you're allowed to answer this, but were you possibly involved in those talks?
No, one, it didn't fit on our land, and two, Hillsborough County didn't have enough money. That's why it ended up in Pinellas.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
We have a question up here.
Hi, I'm happy to ask a question about the team. Up here.
Where are you?
Up here. Hi. Hi.
Oh, there you go.
I think you've done a fantastic job leading the team, you and your leadership team. But I do have a question about the team. It's about Stamkos's contract, if that's okay.
Yep. If I had, I should look at Julian Brisebois' quote.
Yes, I read it.
And it's accurate. Stamkos is awesome. We love him. We want him to stay here. He wants to stay here. But the cap is so tight, we just can't commit. At this point, we expect to sign him, and certainly expect to sign him and finish his career here. We expect that. He expects that. But the actual details of that, we could sign something with him and be over the cap and be in violation of rules. We just can't do it. And he understands that. He is disappointed. He understands that. There was nothing. We had already talked to him for 3 months about this. The stuff that he said, there was no surprise to anybody of us.
Thank you. Yeah, that I noticed he was disappointed in the press conference shortly thereafter. So that was going to be my follow-up question, but you mentioned he was. Yeah.
He is disappointed. We're disappointed we can't sign him right now too, but we just can't strap ourselves like that. But at the end of the season, we'll handle it. Well, hopefully it'll work out.
I think we have one more question up here. And then we can take one more after this one.
What do you think that Colorado team had 2 years ago that was able to propel them over a Lightning team that had so much momentum coming off of 2 years?
It was their time. Point got hurt. It may have been different if Point hadn't got hurt. They were a better team than us at that time. Our guys were tired. Vazzy was tired. There was long. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the playoff run we had when we lost to Colorado was a much more difficult accomplishment than winning the 2 Stanley Cups. We barely beat Toronto. I think then we beat Florida easily. Then I can't remember, the Islanders. That went 7 games, fantastic game 7 in our building. And maybe that was the year before. I don't know. That was the year before. Whoever we beat in the 3rd round. And then Colorado, they were better than us. It was just, the last game, we just had nothing left at the end. No matter what you hear, 3 years of playing the last game every year really takes it out of you. Nobody likes losing in the first round. We did last year, but guys, I can tell you in camp, there's a reason why we've won 4 preseason games in a row this year. In the last 2 years, we almost lost all our preseason games. Guys are much more hungry and much more energized this year. It's a big difference in camp.
One more question from up here.
So I'm originally from Canada and a huge hockey fan, so I'm wondering who's your least favorite team to play against?
All 31 other teams. You got to hate Philadelphia. I mean, you just...
I agree. Thank you.
We can have time for one more question if you want to.
Oh, we've got one up here.
Yeah, we can do one up here and then one down here. That's perfect.
Hi. Okay, so from all those years where you were working on the Lightning, like you've been working for it or with it for 15 years, you probably still have people that were with you in the beginning, but other people that aren't with you anymore. How did you recognize the people that still help you out from the people that you had to fire?
I don't get involved in, if I have to fire a CEO, I'll fire the CEO. I have 2 reports. I have the CEO of the business side, Steve Griggs, and I have the head of the hockey side, the general manager, Julien Brisebois. They make the decisions on everybody below them, and the people under that, it goes down. I'm a big believer in chain of command. I would never say we should fire so-and-so person because they're not doing a good job. I'm not close enough to do that. But we have lost people along the way. A lot of people leave and find other opportunities. We celebrate that. We call them Lightning Made, M-A-D-E, because we like to think that we help them advance their career. And then there are not many, but there are other people that aren't quite cutting it, and we have to handle that as you would expect. But I have not had to fire. I've had 2 CEOs and 2 general managers, and never did it ever cross my mind to fire either of them because all 4 of those total, 2 times 2, have been exceptional.
Thank you.
All right, and for our last question.
Hi there, Mr. Vinik. So, as you said earlier, sometimes you need to lose to win. So during a rebuild, I know you guys internally have a vision and a process of where the team wants to go. How do you get the fans to buy in, or how did you do it when the Lightning were rebuilding and obviously now 2 Stanley Cups? So.
Yeah, when you're winning and competing to win the whole thing, it's easy, right? That sells itself. When you're in a rebuilding stage, you're selling hope, and that's the emotional bond. And we had Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman. Those are the only 2 guys we had. 3 years after I bought the team, we got rid of everybody but the 2 of them. Obviously, they're pretty good players for us right now. And so we had them, and we had a minor league team. While we were missing the playoffs 2 years in a row, our minor league team won a championship. And those guys, with Kucherov and Johnson and Killorn, those are the guys that became the nucleus of our team, that became a winning team. So that's what you're selling when you're not doing as well: excitement, hope, improvement over time. It's not easy necessarily. We haven't had to do that in 10 years. We've been fortunate. I hope we don't have to do that for another 10 years. But at the point in time, we'll if we get in that situation, we'll try to showcase other great things that that our guys are doing on the ice, and individual accomplishments, whatever it may be. But the hardest thing in hockey or in sports is finishing in the middle, because, if you're one of the top teams, that's great. If you finish in the middle, you don't get the best draft choices. And, the Lightning haven't had a top draft choice in 8 or 9 years, even though, forgetting trading them, even if we hadn't traded them, we've been so good. That wears on you. There's a reason that Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo, teams that have been in the basement for 5 years straight, are now all going to give us a run in the playoffs. It's going to be hard to make the playoffs this year. The East is very balanced, and especially without Vasilevsky for 2 months. But between the backup goalies we have and the new backup goalie we're getting from this room, I'm optimistic.
All right, let's give a nice round of applause for Dustin.